A riff. Just a simple riff. 3 notes, 3 steps, yet powerful enough to hold the spine of rock music and bend it into an entirely new direction. Today we ask a profound question. What if that riff never existed? What if Smoke on the Water was never written? Would the world of rock music still look the same? Or would it have evolved along a completely different path? Tonight we embark on an exploration of alternative history, a version of our world where the most famous riff of all time never reached our ears, leaving behind a world that feels familiar yet strangely empty, as if something fundamental were missing from the cultural landscape. If you like this content, don't forget to subscribe. Smoke on the Water was never just a song, it was a cultural phenomenon, a youth ritual, a doorway into rock's soul. It was the easiest and most powerful way to understand rock, to feel its essence, and to fall in love with the genre. Today, thousands of people write identical comments under videos like this one. Classic rock vibes for sure. Deep Purple vibes all the way. Say what you will. Rock is not dead. I only listen to this playlist. These comments reveal something profound about musical nostalgia and the enduring power of timeless riffs. These comments prove something incredibly important. Smoke on the Water was not simply a classic track from the 1970s, it was the gateway into the collective memory of an entire generation. The bridge that connected millions of young minds to the transformative power of rock music. But now, let us close that gateway and imagine this legendary riff was never written at all. Let us imagine a world where that iconic sound never spread from bedroom to bedroom, never inspired countless guitarists. What would happen? First, the entire world of the guitar would change completely. In reality, the first riff that most people learn on guitar is Smoke on the Water. It is simple, clear, and recognizable. It serves as the beginning of a lifelong and meaningful relationship with an instrument that can truly change lives and open doors to musical creativity. If that foundational riff does not exist, the crucial starting point of the guitar disappears entirely. Music teachers must scramble to find something else entirely for their beginner students. The first emotional connection to the guitar becomes significantly weaker and less accessible. Rock music becomes harder to enter for newcomers. The guitar becomes less accessible to the masses and less universal as an instrument of choice. Many young musicians might never pick up the instrument at all, their destinies altered by this missing gateway moment. Today, countless renowned guitarists from legendary bands like Metallica, Megadeth, Pantera, and even Nirvana have publicly stated that their first riff was Smoke on the Water. Without that essential first step in the musical journey, the entire chain of musical inspiration becomes weaker, more fragile, and less likely to inspire the next generation of musicians. Deep Purple also changes completely. They remain one of rock's undisputed giants, but their most recognized and beloved song worldwide, Smoke on the Water, becomes a gaping hole in their legacy that can never be filled, leaving them without their most powerful cultural weapon. If it does not exist, things shift dramatically. Deep Purple becomes less of a global household name. The established triangle of hard rock power begins to wobble and change fundamentally. The delicate balance between Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and Deep Purple breaks apart in unpredictable ways. Their legendary album Machine Head does not reach the same iconic status in the pantheon of rock history. Deep Purple becomes respected but not a worldwide icon. Smoke on the Water was their universal identity card. Without it, the world sees them very differently. Hard rock itself changes direction. The sound of the 1970s was built on 3 pillars: Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, and Black Sabbath. If Purple loses global influence, this entire foundational structure begins to collapse. Zeppelin and Sabbath become the only 2 truly universal foundations of hard rock. Riff-driven rock spreads much more slowly across the musical landscape. The organic evolution of hard rock becomes significantly delayed, creating ripple effects throughout the entire genre. The crucial inspiration that shaped metal bands of the 1980s becomes weaker, changing heavy music's trajectory. Smoke on the Water is not only famous, it is one of the fundamental pillars supporting the entire genre. Now consider young listeners and aspiring musicians. An entire generation took their first meaningful steps into rock through this one iconic riff. Comments today still reflect the same powerful feelings and emotions. Classic rock vibes. Old songs but still good. This music never dies. These comments reveal the eternal power of musical connection across time and space. These people found rock's spirit through one simple melody, a doorway they all walked through. Most walked through Smoke on the Water, using it as their introduction to rock. If it doesn't exist, thousands never discover guitar. Rock spreads much more slowly through youth culture. The explosive growth and cultural explosion of the 1980s becomes significantly smaller and less impactful. Even the rise of grunge in the 1990s becomes weaker and less revolutionary, because rock culture grew through one shared, powerful beginning. If that crucial beginning disappears, the entire culture loses its essential momentum and forward-moving energy. The absence affects other legendary groups too, creating chain reactions throughout the entire music industry. Comments naturally mention Led Zeppelin, Kansas, ZZ Top, and Dire Straits. This reveals that listeners do not artificially separate these groups. They see them as one unified classic rock universe, connected by shared influences and common experiences that transcend individual bands and define a generation. If Smoke on the Water never existed, that carefully balanced universe becomes completely unbalanced. Deep Purple becomes smaller and less influential in the grand scheme of things. Zeppelin and Sabbath dominate the landscape even more completely. Kansas stands more alone as a unique voice in rock. ZZ Top rises faster to prominence. Dire Straits and their distinctive clean guitar style become much more central to the rock narrative. The entire ecosystem of classic rock shifts, changing how we understand the genre's history and impact. In the 1980s, MTV brought rock music back to the mainstream with unprecedented power and influence. Guitar culture rose again with iconic hits like Money for Nothing, Jump, and Sweet Child O' Mine. But the crucial roots of that guitar culture were planted in the riff-driven songs of the 1970s, creating the foundation for all future success that would define an entire decade of musical evolution. If Smoke on the Water doesn't exist in this alternate timeline, the romance of the guitar in the 1980s becomes weaker and less compelling. MTV shows a completely different musical landscape to the world. Deep Purple experiences a smaller and less impactful comeback. Their album Perfect Strangers reaches significantly fewer people, creating a smaller cultural footprint that echoes through music history. The chain reaction never begins. Even the idea that rock is still alive becomes weaker. Today, people comment under classic rock videos, "Say what you will, rock is not dead. Rock lives and will always live." These show rock's deep roots in consciousness. Where does this profound confidence come from? It comes from the riffs they played during their formative youth. It comes from the simple yet incredibly powerful musical patterns that shaped their identity and worldview. Smoke on the Water was one of those essential foundational patterns that resonated across decades and generations. If it doesn't exist, belief in rock's eternal life becomes smaller, creating doubt where there should be confidence. So what is the ultimate conclusion of this thought experiment? The absence of Smoke on the Water represents not only the loss of one beloved song, it is the loss of an entire culture and way of life. It represents a missing beginning for millions of aspiring musicians worldwide. It represents a weaker, less accessible connection to the guitar as an instrument of choice. It represents a smaller, less influential Deep Purple in the pantheon of rock legends. It represents a different, less vibrant evolution of hard rock music. It represents a quieter, less expressive youth culture. It represents a slower, more hesitant evolution of the entire rock genre. It represents a world where the powerful voice of rock does not echo as loudly or as clearly across the cultural landscape. The world would feel quieter, less alive, less electric, a place where rock's spark burns less brightly in human consciousness. But here is the beautiful part of this exploration. This is only a thought experiment, a mental exercise in alternate history. In the real world, that legendary riff was indeed written. The iconic sound traveled across the entire planet, touching millions of lives. Countless millions of people picked up a guitar for the first time, inspired by that simple yet powerful melody. Rock music survived and thrived through every era, adapting and evolving while maintaining its essential character and spirit. Today, people still write, "Rock is not dead." So what do you think about this topic? Smoke on the Water exists. And because it exists, rock still breathes, still inspires, still lives with power. As long as that riff is played in bedrooms, concert halls, and hearts, rock will never fade, never die. Not now, not ever. The power of a simple riff is the power to shape culture, inspire generations, and keep rock alive forever. And don't forget to watch our other videos in the meantime.